For too long, we in the West have walked around with a sort of swagger and ultimately a sort of entitlement. In the words of Stephen Jenkinson, getting up every day, expecting to live, is the training wheels on the spaceship of our entitlement. Now, the implications of rapture here are obvious, the implications of an escapist theology. But what Jenkinson is saying on another level is that our unwillingness to engage our own mortality, to, in the words of Psalm 39:4, ask, Lord, make me to know my end and the measure of my days, ultimately contributes to an approach to the world at large, the ecology, which is based in entitlement, which is based in, as Jenkinson would say, a demand to live. In the context of Revelation, there is an appropriate association here with what, after Augustus's time, would be called the Pax Romana, the peace of Rome. There is another idea that ran alongside this one, that being that Rome itself was eternal, that it would be good for all things that Rome would be endless. This endlessness, this blindness to the end of things, is perhaps a part of any empire, certainly any system that relies on exploitation to keep the lights on. This can be particularly witnessed as well in Revelation, as Barbara Rossing points out, that both Rome and the New Jerusalem are distinguished by their ecological consequence, direct from their political and economic actions. So Revelation provides for us at least two manners of mourning or grieving. One we find in Revelation 18, where the merchant's lament is found. They mourn because all the goods that made them wealthy, are lost. With the judgment that God brings to the city of Rome, there will be no more sea for them to transport goods. Their commodification of the sea is abruptly ended because the New Jerusalem does not have one for them to trade upon. There's another approach to mourning to point out here in Revelation, less obvious but still a lament. There is almost an antiphonal call and response between Jesus and the witnesses. Jesus says, I am coming soon, to which the witnesses say, Come, Lord. There's a sort of longing here, a longing for the one, and really the ones, considering the martyrs under the altar, who were lost due to the violence of Rome, the violence of supposed Roman peace. So, what these manners of mourning ask of us is, are we among those aggrieved, who lament the loss of wealth, the ups and downs of the stock market amid the laying waste of the environment? Do we count as grievance the loss of our own personal wealth that sustains us beyond our needs? To whom do we belong, the merchants? Or do we long with the witnesses to the Lamb? Do we long with the world slain like the Lamb, instrumentalized through the thirst of imperialism yesterday and neoliberalism today? These are the questions we will continue to wonder about on next week's episode of A Time to Mourn, where we will discuss the work of Neville Ellis and Ashley Consolo. And for just a short preview of next week, I'll conclude with a quote from the very ending of their article, which reads, Just as grief over the loss of a loved person puts into perspective what matters in our lives, collective experiences of ecological grief may coalesce into a strengthened sense of love and commitment to the places, ecosystems, and species that inspire, nurture, and sustain us. There is much grief to be done. There is much grief work to be done, and much of it will be hard. However, being open to the pain of ecological loss may be what is needed to prevent such losses from occurring in the first place. Until next week, thank you for listening.